As a victim of Chinese education system, I hate it. It failed by design. Curiosity was punished, expression suppressed, and creativity treated like a threat. Then I saw American kids who could argue with teachers, kids who could say no, kids who could speak their mind and choose their direction. I envied them. Until I saw videos like this one. A student gets her phone taken away by her teacher, and her response is to pepper spray him. He collapses to his knees, hands over his eyes, screaming in pain, while the rest of the class laughs, records, and cheers. And the girl, she doesn't back down or hesitate. She keeps repeating the same line as a demand, "Give me my phone." That moment hit me. American education claims to be about freedom, respect, and student-centered learning. But somewhere along the way, it began losing authority, structure, and boundaries. It was in that exact moment that I re-examined my own past. I looked back at Chinese education I grew up in, the one I hated, and I realized something. While Chinese education tried to break me, it accidentally forged 3 abilities that are incredibly valuable in today's world. These abilities were never a gift from the Chinese system. They were things I clawed out of survival. China didn't teach expression. It taught restraint. It didn't offer choice. It taught endurance. It didn't allow failure. It forced persistence. Ironically, these abilities matter a lot, not just here in America, but anywhere people call themselves civilized. The first lesson was this: you are not special. It sounds brutal, but it forces something powerful: responsibility. In China, if you fail a test or misbehave, there's only one explanation: you didn't work hard enough. You are not good enough. But here in America, if you fail, there are 100 diagnoses ready to protect your feelings: ADHD, trauma, dyslexia, neurodiversity. And if those don't work, there's society, inequality, systemic injustice. Oh, of course, the safety net of no one left behind. You can blame everything except yourself. And that mindset doesn't stop in classrooms. It bleeds into society. People who push DEI to the extreme keep pointing to history, slavery, discrimination, oppression, as if that alone explains their present failures. At some point, I have to ask, where is your agency? Where is your free will? If your community has been given resources, opportunities, representation, and you're still failing, then the question is no longer history. It's accountability. Lucky you were not raised in China, because there, failure isn't poetic or political. It's simple. You didn't try hard enough. In Chinese schools, public or private, everyone wears the same uniform, uses the same textbooks, sits in the same rows. No teacher ever tells you you are unique. Instead, you hear, "Everyone else can do it. Why can't you?" It is an efficient way to educate the largest student population on Earth while still producing top-tier results. And it works. When the world's factories moved out of China, global companies ran into a problem. Where else can you find that many highly skilled workers, trained at scale, disciplined at scale, and competent at scale? Behind the Chinese classrooms, there's a harsh but effective philosophy. Effort equals outcome. If you don't work, you starve, or you become irrelevant. There's no emotional cushion, no soft landing, no slogan promising no one gets left behind. It's extreme, I know, but it builds a reflex. When something goes wrong, my first instinct is not to blame the world. I turn inward, not outward, not looking for excuses, sympathy, or someone to fault. And that mindset, whether you love it or hate it, is a competitive advantage in a world that rewards resilience more than explanations. The second lesson was this: You don't have to like it. You just have to finish it. Chinese education taught me one clear rule. Interest isn't the reason. Results are. In the US, I hear young people say, I don't feel like it, as if that's a valid argument. Well, the real world doesn't care about your feelings. Deadlines still exist. Kids still need care. Mortgages still need payment. And life keeps moving, whether you are inspired or not. Everyone loves the idea of joyful learning. Really? Joyful? All the time? Growth means rejecting your old self, correcting the self that wasn't good enough. That process is never pleasant. It hurts. And sometimes, after hours, months, or years, you get a tiny moment of satisfaction. That's the real ratio. Pain is the line. Joy is just dots along it. We grew up hearing the same lessons over and over, in stories, in classrooms, at the dining table from our parents and grandparents. Eat bitterness. Become someone. Pain isn't punishment. Pain is the price of competence. If you survive that system, you walk out with something priceless. Delayed gratification. Good grades never depended on passion. They depended on grit. Because my math grades were weak, I had to push myself long past the point of interest or motivation. I kept drilling the same exercises after everyone else had moved on, because falling behind wasn't an option. Under brutal competition, under teachers who never softened their words, I learned how to take pressure without breaking. Well, I did break. I collapsed. And thankfully, I came back. Even now, years later, those sleepless nights before the college entrance exam still crawl back into my dreams. Yes, that system gave no warmth, no mercy. But it forged something unmistakable, endurance. I mean, after surviving that exam, what in life could possibly feel impossible? Ask any multinational operating in China, and they'll tell you the same thing. Chinese employees can absorb more pressure than almost anyone, and they are terrified of showing weakness. In fields where endurance matters more than excitement, science, medicine, engineering, art, athletics, Chinese and Chinese-trained minds perform with relentless, almost predictable consistency. The third lesson is this: respect for order, rules, and absolute values. We live in the postmodern world where everything is relative, where nothing is allowed to be called right or wrong. But reality doesn't work that way. Some things are right, some things are wrong. Without that clarity, everything collapses. In the classroom, respecting the teacher isn't optional, it's correct. Because without discipline, there's no learning. Scripture says we are created equal in dignity. But equality never meant sameness. Schools have hierarchy, companies have structure, nations have authority, societies have boundaries. As long as humans exist, there will always be hierarchy. If I could talk to that girl, I'd say, you think rules are a cage, but no, order isn't oppression. Order is what lets people work, learn, and live together. If you cannot control yourself, then yes, someone must control you. That's not an insult. That's how you grow. Every person who becomes truly capable, whether in science, art, medicine, or leadership, gets there through discipline. Either they disciplined themselves or someone else held the line and refused to let them fall into chaos. Because given unlimited freedom, most people don't rise, they sink. People love talking about reaching for the higher life, but most can't resist the easier one. And there's another absolute value in China. Knowledge matters. Chinese culture never doubted that. Knowledge changes destiny. And because a whole culture believes that, parents invest, students push themselves, and the teachers still hold social respect. So, when I say Chinese education system failed, I'm talking about one very specific part of it. Its refusal to nurture curiosity, self-expression, and creativity. That investment is still nowhere close to enough. And yet, the system that broke me also built me. Pressure was its weapon. And strangely, also my training. The three abilities I dragged out of that system form the foundation of how I survive and grow. China produces millions of competent, disciplined, high-performing individuals. But when it comes to breakthroughs, true innovation, disruption, experimentation, and the willingness to fail, China still struggles. Look at the numbers. Only about 13 Nobel laureates of Chinese origin, far below what population alone would predict. Tu Youyou discovered artemisinin, but only after she left the rigid research environment. Yang Zhening cracked symmetry breaking, but not until he was in a freer intellectual landscape. China is excellent at producing excellence. It is not yet good at producing originality. So, if you ask me, would you raise your children the same way? My answer is simple. No, I wouldn't dare. I'm grateful for the skills, but I will never thank the system. I believe civilization should evolve. We should find a way to raise strong humans without breaking them, to build grit without trauma, to teach responsibility without humiliation, to demand excellence without fear. Here's the dilemma I live with. In the American environment that protects freedom, individuality, and emotional safety, how do I make sure my children still learn those three things? The ability to take responsibility, the ability to finish what they don't like, the respect for order, structure, and values. I don't have that answer yet. I'm still figuring it out, like many immigrant parents. So, if you have ideas, leave them. Because our generation has one job, to do better than the one that raised us. All right, thank you for watching Su Talk. Subscribe and see you next time.